Hey guys, it's me Sujoy over here. Welcome back to another video. So on this video, I'm going to be talking about how are some foreign teachers being abused by their employers. So yeah, if you're new to my channel, the name of my channel is called as Sujoy in Vietnam. I've been living in Vietnam for over 7 years now. I was an English teacher before for 4.5 years. And then I started my online digital marketing business, and I'm also a full-time YouTuber. So if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, it takes less than 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, and that way you can support my work. So yeah, let me just have a bit of my afternoon tea. So I thought of making this video. I came across a YouTube video about a South African female teacher. She was, she was abused by her employer in China. So basically, she got punched on her face. I mean, on her eye, on her left eye or something, by her HR manager. So this all happened in China. It's a bit shocking. I checked the whole YouTube video out. I'm going to keep a link of that down in the description below for you to check that out. Yeah, so the reason why I'm trying to make this video is that since I'm a teacher, since I've been teaching English for so many years in Southeast Asia, I know many of you, you all want to, go to certain Southeast Asian countries, namely Vietnam and Thailand, to teach English as an alternative to teaching English in China. Don't get me wrong, the salary package in China is pretty high for English teaching, but I'm not very well um, educated regarding the teaching environment in China, but I can give you some insights for, like it's not always the grass is not always greener if you're going to be teaching English in specific Southeast Asian countries, especially Vietnam and also in Thailand. So I'm going to be talking from my personal experience. So if you are planning to teach English in Southeast Asia, I highly recommend you check out this video. Even if you're a native or a non-native teacher, or if you're coming, or if you're from India and if you want to teach English in Southeast Asia, you got to know a lot of things before diving in. Because getting a teaching certificate, getting a TESOL or a TEFL online or taking an offline course is a different ball game. But when you're actually in the teaching environment, it's very different. It's not like what you're doing, when you're doing the online, TEFL and TESOL classes, right? So I've taken down a couple of points. I'm going to elaborate them. Got my notes with me actually. Yeah. The first one is actually contract violation, right? There are some schools in Vietnam. I mean, especially this happens in public schools, some public schools in Vietnam, or it can even happen in Thailand, where they don't actually they don't actually comply with the contract, right? So like you get a teaching job, you're reading the contract, so this and this, you'll get all these benefits and everything, but there are some schools which actually violate these contract policies. It's a sad thing to see that most of the schools in Southeast Asia, they are actually um, they focus on hiring teachers to take a lot of classes. It's like more into, and that's the reason why a lot of teachers, they leave the schools, and then you see on all these um, on these teaching job portal sites, so many vacancies for English teachers, especially for native teachers. The reason is that a lot of teachers are leaving the school, and they want to hire other teachers. Maybe it's just that the school environment is not good, and it's just that there are a lot of red flags to it. Forgive me, I'm in India, so it's a bit noisy outside. There's some traffic moving around, and of course a bit of thumping noise on top. Yeah. Yeah, so the first one is contract violation. The second one is salary delays or teachers being underpaid. There are some schools, and there are some schools in Vietnam where where they pay the teachers on the 15th of each month, right, or maybe on the 10th of each month or whatever. But they have that cutoff date. I remember when I used to teach in public schools, and I taught in different public schools for 2 years. I worked with a teaching company with a company, but they had affiliation with different public schools because in Vietnam, public schools don't directly hire foreign teachers. So if you are with a like if you're with a language center, or if you're with a teaching company, education company, they have a lot of tie-ups with different public schools. Most of the public schools in Vietnam, their websites are in Vietnamese, and they're more focused on hiring Vietnamese teachers, right? But it's just that the salary delays, right? So it's just that you take a lot of classes. They ask you to take many classes, but you'll be getting your salary on the 15th of every month or on the 10th. And there's a cutoff. So like, say you're teaching from the first week of the month till the end of the month, so that is your cutoff date for your salary. And beyond that, whatever you're teaching from the new month to the 10th or to the 15th, that is not going to be included to your existing salary. So it's kind of a bit of pain in the ass. And of course, there have been some news of some language centers in Vietnam where they haven't paid foreign teachers for months. I believe Apex English was one of them. They did not pay their foreign teachers for 2 months or 3 months or something like that. So you can imagine the kind of stress, because like, if foreign teachers are living in Southeast Asia, you got to take care of your accommodation, you got to pay your rent, or if you're staying in a hotel, and it all adds up a lot of money. And it's just that you're teaching like crazy, you're doing all these long hours, but sometimes you're not getting your salary on time. And most of some of these schools, they come up with these excuses like, oh, we're doing some internal management stuff or whatever. So I hope you get the idea, right? The third one, which actually really bothers me, is there are some schools in Southeast Asia, I mean, especially in Vietnam, where they just tell you that you need to take care of your work permit cost, right? Your visa cost or whatever, or you pay half of your work permit cost, and then we can reimburse you later and everything. So my question over here is, I think it should be the responsibility of this hiring employer, the school, to take care of your visa work and everything. They should pay for your work permit and everything. Getting a work permit done in Southeast Asia, at least in Vietnam, is expensive. It costs a lot of money. And of course, nowadays, getting a work permit for teaching English in Vietnam is like next to impossible. There's so much of complications. It's not as easy as it is mentioned on the paper, so it takes a lot of time. So it's just that, you will see sometimes in the contract, if you're getting hired by a school in Vietnam or by a language center, they may include like you need to pay 8 million, or you need to pay like 10 million Vietnam dong, which is equivalent to, I think, $500 or something, for your work permit, half the cost or whatever, and then that will be reimbursed and everything. So you need to realize that, that money you can actually use for your personal expense, for renting an accommodation and everything. So it's actually the responsibility of the hiring employer, the school, to take care of the work permit costs and everything. But even if you do encounter these kind of contracts, where it is mentioned, so just be a bit wary of that, right? And of course, what is this? Poor waiting. Okay, so lack of school support, right? So say you're getting hired by and especially this happens in public schools. It's happened to me many a times with public schools in Vietnam. It's even happened to me in Thailand. I was recruited by a bilingual school in Thailand. I taught there for a month, but thing is that there are instances where you don't get support from the school. Um, like the TAs, the teaching assistants, the TAs, they don't help you much when it comes to, it's like everything you got to do yourself. It's, there's a say in some of the school, there's a say actually, like the TAs, the Vietnamese female TAs usually, they're like beauty pageants. They just come to the classroom, they sit behind the class, and then they're just, they just check some papers and everything, because those TAs are actually teachers for those schools, right? But they're not going to be helping you much, when it comes to helping you with your classroom management, or if you want to explain some activities to your students, and if you want to do some kind of role play, and if you want to get it translated so that your students can understand it better. So that's not going to happen most of the time. So if you're going to be teaching English in Southeast Asia, especially Vietnam, and even in Thailand, like, I used to teach with this bilingual school. I had there's this TA, she was a Thai TA, and she was like, I was even told by the school, don't even communicate with, you're not supposed to communicate with the TA. Why is that so? And it's just like, there's a say in Thailand, like if you're a foreign teacher, that you're always a guest in the school, whatever that is. But sorry, guys, clearing my throat. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and that TA, that Thai TA, was extremely very rude, and that's the reason why I got kicked out of the school. Is just because she was a Thai person, and I was a foreign teacher. On top of it, I was a non-native, so it was easy for the school to kick me out. So be a bit mindful, like, I always try to have a kind of a positive coordination with my TA when I used to teach in schools. But I had also many instances where I taught in a couple of public schools, and like some of those Vietnamese TAs, they would not even help me. And I even had one TA who told me, like, can't you do it yourself? Or having that really bad attitude and no support from school. I've seen some foreign teachers going up to the vice principal office and asking for some help or something, and they just shoo them off, like, no, 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 go back to your classroom, go back to your classroom. It's just that, we were like, some of the foreign teachers were treated like poorly, like dogs, like, go back to your classroom and teach, whoosh them away. So and that's the sad reality of teaching in some of these schools in Southeast Asia, especially in Vietnam and in Thailand. um, of course, you do also have the poor classroom conditions. Like, I remember when I used to teach in public schools, like there were students, like 50 to 60 students. I used to teach in some public schools where, the fan was not working, there was no proper ventilation. It's like you just have the blackboard and the chalk, and you're teaching the students, and you're sweating, you're wearing that teacher uniform, you're sweating around. And that's not very good for the health in the long run, because as a result, I developed a bit of coughing problem due to the chalk in the blackboard. And it's just that, um, it was just like extremely very hot. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some public schools in Vietnam where they do have air conditioning, and, they do have computer, they do have a projector. But, some of the schools which I taught when I started my teaching career in Vietnam, we didn't have anything like that. I didn't, it was just like blackboard and chalk. Sometimes recorder will not work or the mic is not working or whatever. Just screaming your lungs out, students not respecting foreign teachers. And this happens sometimes in some of these schools in Southeast Asia, like some of the Vietnamese students, they'll like disrespect the foreign teacher, or they don't want to pay attention. They're just especially the female students, they would not pay any attention to the teacher. They would just play with their mobile phones, chew gums, or just like going frequently out to the washroom, and making a lot of noise. So it was just sometimes it gets really chaotic, and that's the reason why I found it quite challenging for the first 6 months, when I was teaching in Southeast Asia in these public schools. So you got to be a bit careful, you got to be a bit mindful when you go to start your teaching career in Southeast Asia, especially teaching in public schools. And of course, you have the discrimination and harassment. This especially happens, if you're a non-native teacher, if you're a person of color. It's just that, okay, you may get English teaching job with the public school or with the language center, but teaching English in Southeast Asia is still grossly very discriminated, right? It's You still have a lot of racism issue in that, because um, you will have encounters, where the school may not treat you right, may treat you poorly, may not involve you with certain activities like events and everything. Or I've even heard stories like some schools, like some staff, they go to the classrooms and then they tell the students, this teacher is coming, don't respect that teacher or whatever. It's just that, so this happens, because teaching English is predominantly focused towards, Caucasian teachers, white teachers, because most of the parents in Southeast Asia, they prefer their teacher to be a white when it comes to teaching English. And of course, you see a couple of these many of these adverts, where they say, teachers, we are looking for teachers only from specific countries like US, UK, South Africa, Canada. So it's very rare to find, where you're going to have a teaching job placement advert where it's going to be saying open for non-native teachers or any nationality welcome or whatever. Now, unfortunately, if you're applying for English teaching jobs in Thailand, most of the time you'll see these adverts, only for native teachers. And of course, I remember when I was with this bilingual school in Thailand, I was kind of treated poorly by this school because I was a non-native teacher, even though I had an American bachelor's degree. And of course, in the teacher's room, like I was always kept isolated. I was kind of treated very differently, and all the other teachers who were whites or Europeans, they didn't have much of any problems or complications or whatever. So, yeah, if you're a non-native teacher, you are going to experience discrimination at one point when you're going to be teaching in these schools in Southeast Asia, right? Now, of course, the next point is housing and accommodation. So, yeah, if you are say you got an English teaching job in Southeast Asia, um, but it's just that sometimes the schools, they'll not provide you any housing or accommodation facilities, right? They may actually put you up in a hotel for a week or whatever, and then they'll say that you're on your own. So I had this situation. I was teaching this language center in Hanoi, and I actually moved from Ho Chi Minh. I went to Hanoi, and I was on a work permit visa. Sorry, I was on an employer invitation visa. I had a lot of hard time, when I was in Hanoi, because I was shifting from hotels to hotels. The center, they did not provide me proper accommodation facilities, no support whatsoever. It was just like they would just keep on telling me, "Yeah, we are looking out for some accommodation for you," and they just keep on giving you that excuse. So be a bit mindful of this, because this could be a huge red flag, especially if you're if you're shifting from relocating from one country to another country, or from one city to another city. So yeah, so be very careful about this, right? So I highly recommend that you clear this out with your hiring employer, that how much of assistance are you going to give me for accommodation, where will I be living. So yeah. And of course, the next point is working overtime. So it's just that, and this is actually, some of the schools, they do this so that they can get rid of a foreign teacher. I mean, like sometimes, I've had these situations where I was teaching public schools, and I had to do so many classes, like take 4 classes in the morning and then take another 3 4 classes in the afternoon, working like 6 days a week. Or it's just that, it's like more into, and it's a sad reality that most of these schools, they just want the foreign teachers to teach as much as possible, different classrooms. They just want to make sure they cover up the topic of the day. They don't focus more on the quality of the teaching. So it's just like you finish one class and immediately they ask you to go to another class. You don't even have those small 5 minutes break. They like they treat you like a cattle. Like, some of the foreign teachers, some of these schools, they treat their foreign teachers like cattle, like animals. Like, okay, you finish this for 45 minutes, immediately go down to this classroom or go somewhere upstairs to another classroom and start teaching. So it's just that you also need to understand that you also need to take into consideration the health of the foreign teacher, right? I mean, we are all human beings. You cannot just tell us that, okay, you finish one class over here and immediately go to another class. So, okay, even if you have a little 5 minutes mini break for the teacher to go to another classroom and prepare his or her material, that's a different situation altogether. But it's happened to me most of the time, some of the times. And this is actually one of the notorious practices by some of these employers in Southeast Asia to get rid of foreign teachers, to give them a lot of teaching hours, so that they want the foreign teacher to quit and say, I can't do this anymore, or whatever. So yeah, be a bit mindful about this, right? And the last one, which is withholding documents. Okay, withholding your documents like passport. This actually happened to me once. I was applying for an English teaching job with a public school. So I actually made a couple of rounds. The school was in Tanfu district. I gave all my original documents and everything. Due to some reason, I decided I don't want to continue with that school, because I did not actually, I was not very comfortable with the contract. So I said that I'm not going to sign the contract. And I was just coming. My girlfriend, actually, I was that time in Thailand. My Vietnamese girlfriend, she actually went to that school to collect my documents. So she got back all my documents, and I realized that my teaching certificate was missing. So sometimes, some of these employers, they can play these nasty games of withholding some of your documents or not giving back some of your legal paperworks, so that you're going to be having a difficult time applying for sorry, you're going to be having a difficult time applying for English teaching jobs if you reject their offer. It's just like a revenge kind of a thing. So it's happened to me once, and fortunately, I did get a replacement of my TESOL teaching certificate. But it's just that, I knew the fact that that school was like saying, oh, we don't have this document, we gave back everything to your girlfriend, to your Vietnamese girlfriend. But I clearly remember I had also given my teaching certificate, my original TESOL certificate, which actually that school withheld. So be very careful. A couple of these schools, they can do these nasty, they can they can play these nasty games with you. They can withhold some of your documents, and that's what you're going to be seeing in this video, which I'm going to keep a link of this down in the description below, regarding the South African teacher who was punched by her HR manager because she was demanding to get her passport back. And the school, and they were just saying no, and she got punched on her face. So I'm going to keep a link of that video. You can check it out. So remember, teaching English in Southeast Asia is not always a rosy affair. Okay, you got to be mindful of these kind of things. And if you feel that you're experiencing any of these situations which I've actually mentioned in this video, then be very mindful, be careful. Then I would suggest these are red flags. So especially if you're a non-native teacher, be a bit careful. So yeah, but I wish you all the very best with your teaching career and with your teaching job hunts. So yeah, I mean, if you like watching this video, make sure to like this video and all the good stuff. And additionally, if you found this video to be informational, you can buy me a coffee. The link is down in the description below. And if you have experienced any negative experiences of teaching English in Southeast Asia, please leave it down. Please leave your experiences down in the comment section below. I would love to read them out. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. This was me, Sue Joy. Peace out.